I'm coming on early. I know it'll take a minute for people to get on. I'm basically coming into this conversation um, to make a record, actually, of today and of yesterday and of things that are going on in the realms of reality that are not the circumstantial realm of human being that only lasts for a short period of time. So we're going to take a minute of pause. We have 1 minute before people come on, or they're coming on now. I just wanted to have some breather time before I started talking, and perhaps someday we'll find that this entity that we use called Facebook excuse me. Oh, good morning, Michelle. And good morning, whoever else comes on and whoever views this. You know, in all the years I've been alive, there's been this way that I've structured conversation that I would call educational, informative and educational. We're almost at the end of 2021, and I'm almost through that struggle because something happened in 2021 that stabilized the capacity for human beings for 2022. A lot of people have been saying, I just feel different, something's different, something's different, something's different. Well, I would like to speak from a etheric realm because we are spirit before flesh. We are energy before matter. We are eternal before temporal. We're immortal before mortal. And that's what's been building back. What's been building back is spirit, energy, um, the eternal, the immortal. In I Magi, we refer to recall and remembrance, which are in our cellular DNA of who we were before we were hogtied into only flesh, only the temporal, only the mortal. But that bondage is dissolving. So I don't think there's anything to educate anymore. I think it's all about finding language, giving word to what is present, and giving word for a human being gives it a place in human society. I don't mean the secular society, I mean the sacred society of life here that some of us have chosen to dedicate time to. I had a really great thing happen last night. Perhaps for the people on the call and for people listening, it was just another day, just another thing in our schedule that we chose to do. But for me, it was a great moment. And I'm going to address that. I'm going to speak to that. I think when the more the more we become spirit centric, the more we become energy centric, the more, which is etheric. So energy has etheric territories, and those etheric territories have fields of consciousness within which realities rise. So I think the more we find ourselves registering etherically, energetically, spiritly, immortally perhaps, eternal versus temporal. In other words, being in the larger picture of things that lasts over thousands of years here and forever. There are things that last forever. They can't be destroyed. Love is one of those. Connection is another one. Empathy. They can't be destroyed. They're eternal. They're the fabric of the universe itself. But I've had a vision. It's odd to say the word I've had a vision because the vision has had me. So it's not my vision. It's a vision of creation. And I have been present to it and operating on its behalf. So if we look at it very pragmatically, human beings have had once belonged to multiple dimensional territories. It's what a human being is designed to be. If you say it in a secular manner, we have diverse interests. We have more than one interest. But in the etheric realms, it has to do with we're multiple personas, multiple matrices of eyes that have embodied different dimensional territories that we, through having embodied those etheric territories, become the energy of, the spirit of, the eternal nature of it. And we bring those matrices, those energetic, etheric designs back into this planet, or maybe into this planet for the first time. These realms of existence once were here. It was only when the fabric of spirit and flesh got severed, matter and energy got severed, which took a long time to erode here. It didn't sever fast. It was a slow period of erosion. But in our DNA, we never forgot. So we're at a border, a linguistic border, actually. One of the things that in the structure of work I do with others, I magi for the most part, but also there's a cultural group of us that come from many different diverse realms of interest. But we come here as a collective interest in being able to come together as one, in other words, a unit of consciousness, because the greater the unit of consciousness, the greater the capacity for each individual to carry forward a vision of paradise, a vision of unity, a vision of what once existed here and what this place was designed for, and having it be available to its latest species called a human being. That there may be more than one human species here. Duh. There's more than one bird. There's more than one fish. Maybe more than one human. We don't know, do we? But the vision that I want to announce in 2021's completion was of a group of human beings that had, I don't know if I want to say mastered, become actively participant in, I would rather say. I don't think there's mastery available until we can finally be part of the whole again. And in that we can find our mastery as whole system responses, whole beings being whole, whole in holing on behalf of all existence. Little wordy. But I live in meta realms and meta territories and meta realities and meta existences. So do you. It's really the linguistic capacity of the human mental perception to be able to linguistically capture it. So I have changed my approach to doing Facebook Live, which was trying to stay inside the lines, trying to make sure I could build a bridge of awareness. And now, moving now in 2021 into 2022, I'm taking on a linguistic challenge to have the words I say match the resonance and the frequency and the vibrational matrix design of what is coming into play here again. Because it's not something new, it's something, this place was never a request. This earth, this consciousness called Gaia for some, I call her Mother Earth. Oh, Mother Earth, I stand in constant wonder of all you are and all you are to be. That's her for me. We have some people in the field of Tantra Mat, which is just starting there creates a misalignment. It's a field phenomenon. It's not a personal collection of people. It's a field phenomenon that you're in today, and it's not connected to me, although I do embody a lot of its principles. So can you, if they're part of your meta design, your meta body, your meta mind, your metacognitive nature of being. Those principles are easy. As a field phenomenon, it's like swimming in a ocean that is, there's salt water and there's fresh water and there's brackish water and there's oil spill water, and each water affects you in different ways, builds back in you certain properties of existence that you carry. But without the field, without the fields or the realms in them, I call them fields that are, because that word has been coined here and is articulately accurate. They're realms in the non-physical world that become fields, you could say, in the physical world, fields of energy that produce matter, structure, physical manifestation, not of things that we image, but of matrices within which things can rise. So in the field of Tantra Mud, it's simply organized by certain energetic structures, so above, so below, the unity of spirit and flesh, matter and energy, eternal, temporal, secular, sacred. I didn't do that. I found myself being sculpted by that and found that I, as an I, registered with that and loved sculpting the I of me to become that. But it's not the only one. It's also everything operates on behalf of the whole. Everything operates on behalf of everything else. Everything is part of everything else. Everything is in relationship with everything else, and yet everything has a place. These are all operating states in a field. I should probably change it to, no, the field of Tantra Mat. Mat, harmony, balance, proportion, symmetry, beauty, grace. So that's the operating system of a field. And those of us, regardless of what we do in the world, that feel resonant with that, give some time to it, like you're giving time today. So the field of that can stay operative for all humankind, all life here, not just for those in the field. That's what coherence is. You build the strength, the energy, the power, the vital force of a field, and it not only feeds you, it feeds all humankind, all life, actually, not just humankind. And you begin to see evidence of that. You begin to, it's a very different conversation, that individual identity, and what am I here to do? But what am I part of? What am I sculpted by? What are the articulate linguistic terms that I can find that give me mind, a mind of something, that the present articulate linguistic structures do not? We need the mind of something. We can't just wander around in the dark. I finally got my room. I got these blackout curtains. And last night I finally got my room blacked out. I immediately thought I was walking towards the window, which was straight, which when I turned out the light, when I flipped the light out, was right in front of me, my closet with big wooden barn doors, which to the right. And I immediately walked right into the barn doors. And then, thank goodness for my bed, because I could put my hand down on my bed and feel myself around, still thinking I was facing the direction that I thought I was going, and walked into the dresser. So when we're in the dark, we don't have any navigational capacity. When we're in the light, we can see where we're going. And that's a gift of human being, is to become linguistically articulate regarding what is presencing itself in the realm of existence here. So the vision, I keep having to mess around with even trying to speak the vision, because we're in this articulation dilemma. I didn't ever hear a phrase until recently, and I don't like the phrase because of one of the words in it, but I want to speak to it. When I wrote An Irish Tale of a Modern Mystic, it was a very significant book. It wasn't significant because of its story. It was significant because of what I realized at the end of writing the book. And what I realized at the end of writing the book was that the Tuatha, which are part of the meta realms of Ireland and other Celtic countries, the Tuatha had helped me write the book. And they wanted me to know something that I didn't know until I finished that book. And they gave me a vision. Now, there's a difference between a vision that has an operation with it and a vision that lets you see something that you couldn't see before. What I saw and the way I metaphorically described it is what we're now present to. That I watched how the gift of human being, the word, that is our substance, our generating, organizing design, was literally could not be destroyed. In other words, our ability to think, our ability to speak, our ability to communicate, our ability to listen. Look at your head and your body. It's structured for it. So the fundamental structure could not be destroyed without destroying the entity itself, which would be a human being. But what could be destroyed is the capacity to articulate, the capacity to bring language to the realm of spirit, the realm of the eternal, the realm of energy. Because that language presenced it, made it active, activated it. It was an active language. It was a living as. It was an actuality language. It was being it, being in the presence of it, articulating it like someone sings a song without words, presencing something that doesn't get captured by imagery that is not relevant to what is occurring, mainly trauma. Because this was never designed to be a trauma-based world. But almost all the language we presently use is either recovery from used as knowing we've recovered from trauma, or thinking we have, and we have. But there's a phrase someone told me, a statement a few months ago, or maybe I just never registered it till now, that language has been weaponized. Well, I don't think there's an I or an it that knew it was weaponizing language. I do think that we lost language, the language of creation. It's amazing to me. A lot of people are starting to buy the book, Language of Creation, again. It's really amazing. I was shown that this would be the time where people would be reaching for what we're reaching for now in this call today. So we're at work today, in case no one realized it. We're at work about being aware, because the moment a human being becomes aware, a human being begins to become free. Just by being aware, not by figuring out what to do. By the way, figuring out what to do is part of the articulation issue that has trapped humanity without being able to get access to its nature of being. So while I don't like the word weaponized, because it actually generates a reality of weapons and war and enemy, which is not accurate in a paradise. It's just not the language. It's not the articulation. It's just not it. I do know that language has been strewn about, the language of unity, the language of creation, the ability to be present, to be in the presence of what we are speaking, as I am now. And in being in the presence of it, seeking its articulation and its language, a resonance that it can bring forward that goes beyond the words themselves. Particularly now. But because the structure of spirit and flesh, matter and energy, secular and sacred, immortal and mortal, that we are, got aberrated, and probably by the nature of something began to be destroyed by intent or just by intrusion. The way back now is to rediscover articulation, not explanation, not opinion. To rediscover what it is to be in the presence of something, and in its presence find its language so that it can return here on behalf of all life. It's not human-centric, it's feel-centric. And it has begun. It has genuinely begun. It's phenomenal. So now I'm going to try to go back into conversation about last night having a massive inability for the articulation to not collapse into how language has been formulated to trap in concepts, to trap in opinion, to trap in contrast, to trap, totally obliterating a human being's ability to be present to, open up into, and have. 2022 in my work, because the field of Tantra Mud is an active field now, I took 8 years with others to build it. It's active for all of us, whether you ever showed up there or not. An active field is just like the forest, the ocean, the rivers, the streams, the sky are active fields that we all belong to. And when they're restored, and those activities of those realms are restored here, those fields, then they get to feed the DNA of humankind, and the DNA of humankind can find itself responding again out beyond its thought that it is the problem, that it should be able to, it should know how. No, if a fish doesn't have water, it can't swim. If we can get that grounded in our consciousness, and yet our craving, our longing that LOC Institute works with, our craving, our longing is our DNA, our original design activating in us a beacon of return, of reinstatement of the operating system of this planet in her forms. A shared field of pleasure and enjoyment and recycling and other vast, amazing opportunities, not dilemmas. So let's move into maybe a sacred secular conversation, if I may. I knew in 2014 that I needed to structure a 7-year system. Part of it was an experiment, large part, because I didn't know, it had to start as an experiment because I didn't know if humanity was ready for it. So what you do is you set up an experiment. You can set up an experiment for yourself to see if you're systemically ready for something. And that's a very important part of this conversation. Because if I'm not systemically ready, I had polio, I had COVID, I had a bad car wreck and was paralyzed from the waist down. I am not systemically ready to rebuild all the muscles in my legs. However, given modern technology, modern food, modern supplements, I, a 75-year-old woman, really can, in this pristine environment of this place called Define Fitness, in these extraordinary new methodologies, I actually probably can build back the muscles in my leg that some of them atrophied and some of them are just dysfunctional, weak. That wasn't available. So some field has been building on physical health and physical wholeness. Now, is it the whole world? No. But it only takes a seed that operates on behalf of life and operates on behalf of us being whole, body, mind, spirit. It will flourish because it's the design of this planet. It cannot fail. It just, we get to bring our attention to it to speed up the time within which it can become present again in the active system of human being. So I want to talk about the secular nature of things for a moment, but with the background of the secular world once held the structures of the sacred. And I'm going to do my best to try to define the sacred in a fairly pragmatic manner, given that if you notice, when we say the word sacred, we don't have a defined, I don't mean a definition, a defined, I mean clearly perceived notion. We talk about it, but to describe it till we can get it totally articulatedly and in language is probably before us, but probably a challenge today. So this is what I observed when I came. I observed that the human species had become separated from itself so much that every single human was separate from itself, because the self is not separate from others, is not separate from life, and is not separate from creation. It is part of it. It is operating as a congruent, coherent, cohesive whole. Now, don't worry about what I say, because you'll start to try to look for it, but it isn't there. It's what's rebuilding. It isn't there for you to see and to mimic. It's there in you to rise. So I knew the layers of the secular world that would have to repair here for the secular world of human being to operate consistently with the sacred design of this planet and her forms, which includes human beings. So the first thing was the first layering would be, could a human being become related to themselves effectively to return to a sense of self that they knew was self. Now, self is elusive because you can't define it. Most people define it by what they do or what they feel or what they think. But self is like a presence. And when I say I am myself, I have not yet defined it into different natures of doing, different natures of being. It is independent of all that. It is a presence within which I find multiple designs of expression and multiple connections to multiple worlds. So if that could happen, which did happen in the experiment, the spirals of being, and is happening in other sectors, that's the other danger. See how it, if someone would say this, just that statement could have gotten weaponized. It could mean come to me, come belong to me, come participate with me, we have the answer. No, 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 no. I can only talk where I'm occurring. And if you're lucky and you're not, hold on, I gotta make sure yeah, and you're not overwhelmed by needing to individuate or contrast or yeah, but, or anything. If you can just listen like a share from a location in the territory called Earth and just see how it applies in your own area. But if you put a group of people together and the tenets was the fundamental tenet was transparency. In other words, we shared ourselves. We shared our stories. We shared our vulnerabilities. We shared what was going on with us. That amazing shared stories builds coherence, builds the ability to, first of all, it builds vital force energy that I knew would stop at least the degradation of the human body, the degradation of the human spirit, the constant degrading, because we can't live without being able to breathe life. Spirit. All these words are definitely challenging because we immediately go to individuating them rather than consciousness and we just don't, the mind function isn't there yet. But I knew that. So the 7 years was an experiment to see if enough people, 55 to be exact, because that's a quantum physics phenomenon, would hold together for 7 years. It didn't matter if it was 55 of the same people. The number 55 stayed stable, which it did. And something happened. And in what happened, human beings are getting to experience something. They can't define it. And if they try to define it, it almost starts to go away. If they tried to share their experience or they tried to talk about it, it would lose energy and it could shrivel and die because the very articulation and language within which they'd have to use could not bring it out from itself. We cannot walk out the door of it. We have to sustain and maintain it within its doors at this time, within its realm, within its territory. Spirals of being one with creation, one with each other, one with life, one with ourselves. Just that simple. Not so simple, right? Then I did 7 months because I was curious. I opened it up to the public for those 7 months. Just because I had the feeling there were others that we had done our work in a 7-year patterning, but that there were others that also had been building back, either as a collective or individual. And that's what happened. Lots of people came in that were never done any of the work. And we did the 7 levels of consciousness and the different layerings of consciousness, dimensional consciousness that those creation templates hold to build back the mind. And it was extraordinary. And we also had something called monadic groups. We're in a monadic group here. A monadic group is an energy field where human beings as energy beings, inspirited, operating on behalf of life and what has life exist as whole, come together. And a new intelligence occurs, a fusion occurs. A fusion where the individuated thoughts and the individuated what they're present to begin to create new threads of intelligence, new threads of awareness that apply to meta-aim, moving into the next greater whole. So it's not personal opinion, it's not trying to look out in the world and figure out what's going on. It's intelligence, it's consciousness. It begins to feed them as more than being an individuated I, but being a larger I of a collective whole. I, we, they, it, us. Is kind of how I say it because English is deterrent. So I knew it could occur. And then I met Dom and her during that time. And they've been doing it for 43 years. They've been operating on behalf of life and what has life exists as whole here. They were that everything is part of everything else. Everything operates on behalf of everything else. Everything is in relationship with everything else. And they built vital units. Like I use the spirals of being and the 7 levels of consciousness and Facebook Live and I'm Magi and I Guardian of the Gate, literally to build back life, vital net force, vital energy. Because that vital energy begins to restore life here in all its manners. In all its manners. It's not a problem of what humans are doing. It's a matter of the depletion of the vital life force energy of this planet and her kinds. And it's not just physical depletion. Physical depletion only occurs because of spiritual depletion. Spirit depletion, not spiritual. Spirit depletion, energy depletion, immortal depletion, eternal depletion. And I'm determined to build it back, no matter how many times I have to come back here, which has been a few, by the way, for about 12,000 years in human time. And I didn't come from the future. I came from out there, where future doesn't have a place. So it makes me navigationally capable in things called linear time and vertical time and timeless time. It just makes me navigational because I'm not trapped in concepts of linear time. In fact, it's terrifying, frankly. It moves too slow. But the next thing was, now there was evidence that not only could human beings come together in a group and create a coherent field, but we could go into other groups that also were carrying coherency and cohesion, which is more what Dom and her does. They really work in cohesion, which is the actual alchemy of unity. Up until this year, in the field of Tantra Mat, we've been working on coherence, the ability to hear each other, the ability to be related to all life as giving it a place. That's coherency. And there's a power there. There's just a juice of power. I can't explain it. It's the power of the vitality of life itself. It's not power over, it's life itself power. So there's evidence now that we could come from our different sectors of participation and meet each other here, because this is my address. And this address of Tantra Mat, which is actually me, I designed the addresses. I Magi, Realms of the Beloved, Facebook Live, and now a group that is doing some high-level work called I Guardian at the Gate. But that's my matrix of work. You have yours. We all have ours. I get invited to other places to bring my collected vital life force that I've collected, not mine, but the vital life force I've connected to feed other fields that are building back coherency, cohesion, and alignment with the greater powers and forces of creation of which we're a part. So that was evidential. Then the next thing was to see if leaders, which has not happened yet, by the way, uh, if leaders could begin to create coherency, a shared field of, or did they need to stay in their own matrix? And often that's really, really true, because if the spirals of being hadn't built to the potency of coherence it built into, I would probably still be staying in that sector of creation so that it could build back. Falco, the founder of Dom and Her, they stayed everybody had to come to them because they had to stay intact until they could have enough life force juice to be able to go out into that which has been separated from life and no longer exists as whole, and not be over sucked on would be the word in the conversation last night that I hope to end this call with. I'm trying to stay under an hour. The there was a very that we kept moving back into a conversation about how not to take each other's energy, how to build our own energy, and then when one of us needs it and requests it, we all have enough units, and they call it vital units. I call it vital life force. Heather Hunt calls it vitality. And it's not muscular vitality. It's not physical vitality. It's spirit vitality. It's the vitality of the human spirit. The indomitable. No matter how weak, no matter how broken, the indomitable spirit. Of a human being. So in the activity of the field of Tantra Mud, a group of us moved into what we call the initiate path, which I'm going to actually finish this call with. Not to belong to something, but to be part of something that we could operate on behalf of, building our vital force. And frankly, the work that is happening where I am is to find a group of people that are committed to building back their life force, that we can be tapped, that where we go, we bring the human spirit back, not as people, but as beings. And we have to maintain our own. Build back self with others. In other words, if you're in an environment where you're constantly being drained, it can't build coherency, the vital units of life itself back. It can't build the power of life back. And then after a while, there's enough juice, and we see it happen in the WhatsApp thread. There's enough juice that we can forage out to others that are building back the juice of life and be there with them on behalf of what their territory is at work about. We don't have to belong to it unless we're committed to that belonging, but we can also belong to multiple things. We don't have to close in. We're multidimensional. We should belong to many things that we're getting life from and we're giving life to. Many, many, many things. That's the actual structure of human being. And it's designed to be on this planet. It's what it's designed to be. So last night, let me just finish. So Dom and Her, when Falco died, two things happened. Falco died, and in his death, before his death, he had said that it was now time for Dom and Her to take its vital units out into the world. That's why I don't have a closed organization. I have closed classes because we have to be able to build people's capacity back. But I don't have a closed organization everybody should belong to multiple things, be committed to many things, and come back here to reboot in fundamental principles of creation, operationally sound, as energy, not as doing or not as learning, but as being in the field of. And so they began, and they took a lot of hits. COVID happened, Falco died. A lot of their vital units were used up. So I asked if anyone was interested in moving into the initiate path with me, because in the field of Tantra Mud and what it's designed to provide with us in there, not as people, damn, but as energy units, and us committed to rebuilding our energy units and building our spirit base of in our humanness, that we could provide, as well as be gifted by just extraordinary technology of which they know, because they, like me, operate almost completely in etheric territories. And they also operate in the secular, which I don't that much, but I'm getting there. I may, because the secular is still dangerous. It's inbuilt to divide people from each other by opinion and point of view. But last night, there's a center that has been losing its vital units under the weight of pressure of trying to survive in a reality that separates us from each other, doesn't build back our relationship with each other. So I invited people, all of those of us that are in the path, in the Meta Action Group. Of course, some of us came on for the call with this amazing woman, Nandu. But then on the call were quite a few of people who weren't part of the Meta Action Group, part of the field of Tantra Ma, as well as part of other fields. They're not isolated to one field, for God's sake. It's like saying you go to the ocean and never go to the mountain. I mean, that's just plain stupid. Or the desert, or you don't walk out your door. It's diverse. We're designed to be multiple expressions and build multiple powers of consciousness through restoring energy and spirit and immortality, things like that. And then it was beautiful to realize that I could feel our presence, not as individuals, but as what we had gathered together to have available for them to draw from. Now, do they know that as humans? No. Why? Because it all gets messed up in articulation. It all gets messed up in languaging. So I can only have this conversation today, because if I'd said something last night, it would sound like we as people were doing that. No, we as a coherent field were doing that. We as representatives of a coherent field were doing that. And then at the end of the night, everybody shared what they got out of the conversation, which was brilliant. And she talked a lot about what I talked about last Friday, about build energy and don't let it be taken from you, but also don't take it. Opinion, gossip, yeah, but considerations. They drain us. Just say what you're present to. It doesn't matter if you're present to horror or joy. When you're present to it, you're in the energy of it, and everything is energy. There's no wrong energy. Everything's energy. Anger is energy. Joy is energy. It's about the ability to be present to it that matters. So for me, it was a mark, like a experiment, like a trial, like a moment to see if something was possible, that two fields were operational together on behalf of a human structure, a human secular structure trying to build back into the sacred. It makes things possible. And then in the field, which I knew was going to happen in 2020, 2021 was a transitional year. And then I knew that if we made it, if the coherency sustained and maintained itself, people found that vitality of shared existence together. Not living together, but just bringing vitality to each other all the time, and using the need for the vitality when we were in trouble. I knew that I'd accomplished the vision that I had said I would take on to a certain level, and then we'll see what can build beyond that. And that was that in the spirals of being, they had a tremendous level of participation. It took a lot of time. But now, as we move into 2022, I only have really 4 operational things. And they're really like dates with creation and human beings, so that human beings can go out into the secular world. They can go out into their individual lives and come back to what we might call the tower uh, of time, these moments in times to build back, to gather strength again from creation, not from each other, because a coherent field is where creation is present again. We really are in a nightmare, you know. A nightmare is only an illusion. There's no creation there. There's no reality of unity there. There's just mesmerization and illusion and fantasy that's not based on things that can I hate to use the word fantasy, because fantasy is actually a decent thing. As long as you know that fantasy has been used to build back a reality you choose to be part of. The very fact that you think these realities are in existence, they're just a dream. The fact you think they exist keeps them existing. And they do exist, by the way. You just don't have to feed them and give them your vital force. And they're not the enemy. They're just insufficient to the design of this place and her forms. So we shall see. We shall see if what my vision is, psychic vision, prediction actually, is that there will be units of people that come together to build back the vital force of creation within themselves, others, and life in a container of some kind. Then they go out. And then they, you could say infiltrate, although that's a really bad word too, doesn't articulate well. They join, they belong, they become part of other systems. And the unity-based consciousness, not the mind, but the vitality of the creation pulses in them. No one will ever know, you won't get credit. And whither they go as things begin to have enough life force energy to reboot into the design of creation that they are designed to be. They don't deplete. They don't degrade. They don't aberrate. They don't decline, as once of us and all of us once lived through. We've been through this before, every one of us on this call, or we wouldn't be here. There was a point where we knew we had to separate. We had to become an isolated bubble because the ocean had dried up. But all those bubbles are coming back together and the ocean is rebuilding. So the I that we presently carry tries to protect and defend ourselves from people and from situations, which is accurate, by the way, at one level. But you're not going to gain force. You're not going to gain the vital life force energy, because human beings are a interdependent species. They're interdependent on each other for vitality. We require sharing and storytelling and loving and cherishing and adoring and being happy together. That's what builds back our life force energy. So find that. There's a lot of doing and a lot of secular capacity that we're moving into, because the sacred is restoring in the cellular memory of human beings. Just be careful of what you use your word I for. Just be careful where it's coming from. I recommend you read my book, or the book, The Language of Creation, because it helps you. It helps you listen to your mental mind. And your mental mind, more than anything, can deplete you. The minute you say, I need to separate myself, you are depleted. And you actually probably do need to separate yourself from some things. The minute you say, I am separating myself to, I am, I am, I am finding what nourishes me. I'm finding what gives me life and has me exist as whole. You're no longer depleting yourself or others by kind of accusing them of depleting you, or accusing a reality of depleting you. We're all in the same mess. It's not this level of consciousness. It's a meta reality that we need to feed back into place here, which is being where we cherish and are cherished, being where we're excited and excite, being where we feel lively and we enliven, being where we are fed and feed. That's the only monitor that we really need to operate from. Try it on. And just know that in this conversation, the articulation gets caught in the present concepts of reality. And the realities of unity that are forming don't carry those concepts. They don't carry the concepts of enemy or them or it, that there's something to be afraid of, there's something to monitor, there's something to manage, there's something to be operationally savvy about as we're all trying to build back this paradise here. But the minute you make something the cause of your condition, even a disease, you have lost touch with your spirit. Because spirit is all about vitality. Inner, outer, in between vitality. And it builds life force energy back for the entire planet in every single human being. And we have a big job ahead of us. And we have between 2022 and 2026 to do that. Take care. Thank you for being with me. It's precious.